Hi everyone, this is Sandy Bacus, Sandy B. Stitcher, and this is going to be a video about reading and books that, magazines, whatever that I have read over the previous month. I'm sorry. I plan to, if there's interest, I plan to do these videos once a month, probably on the last day of each month if I can work it in at that time, and let you know what I read the previous month. So this month, today is January 31st, and so this month I'm going to first tell you about the books that I was reading at the end of December that carried over, and then what I started reading after that. I have given myself a goal of at least one nonfiction and one fiction book each month, and we'll see as this goes along if I meet my goal. Okay, first of all, I'm keeping a little book to track my reading, and as of the end of December, I was reading a book called The Magnolia Story, and this was written by Chip and Joanna Gaines. This is a nonfiction book, and I finished this book on January 4th. It was a book on my Kindle. If you have a Kindle, you know that you can get a lot of free books on Kindle, and you can also purchase books from Amazon and download them onto your Kindle. Most of the books that I read are either free or they are purchased because I am a member of Amazon Prime. I can get some books at a very, very discounted price. So I don't always know which books I've paid for and which ones are free. But anyways, I will list all of the books in the notes below so that if you are interested in getting them, you'll see the information. Okay, this book, Magnolia Story. I love Fixer Upper, the TV show on HGTV, and I have always thought I loved Chip and Joanna Gaines. This book changed my perspective just a little bit, not about Joanna, but about Chip. I'm going to give this book a rating of 4.5, but this book left me feeling kind of disappointed in Chip Gaines. I don't want to go into it a whole lot, but let's just say he was, and probably still is to a certain extent, a very irresponsible person. I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to ruin anybody else's thoughts about them. So I'll just leave it there, and you can go and read the book. But I did enjoy it. I'm giving it a 4.5. It's just that it kind of lowered my perception of Chip Gaines. Okay, the next book that I started, and I didn't write down the date that I started reading this, and this book I'm still reading, and it's a nonfiction. It's called Wake Up from Anxiety, and it's written by, and I'm not sure the pronunciation, so I'm just going to give it my go at it, and then I will put it down below so you can see the actual spelling. Khail, Kapp. I'm almost finished with this book. I would say I'm probably about 85% of the way through, so I think I can give you a review on it. I would give this book maybe a 3.5. At the beginning of the book, a lot of the stuff that I was reading really hit home with me because, as most of you know, I do suffer at times from anxiety. Not constantly, not panic attacks, but I do sometimes have very anxious times. And I think maybe there are times when I come close to a panic attack, but I can usually... I've learned coping mechanisms to kind of rein it in. There were a lot of good things in the beginning of this book, but as it went on, for me, it started to drag a little bit, and I think that's why I haven't finished the whole book. Other people may find it much more helpful than the latter part of the book was for me, but I'm going to let everybody have their own opinion about that. Again, that was Wake Up from Anxiety, Khail Kapp. Okay, the next book, I started this one on January 4th, and it's called, and it's fiction, and again, almost all of these books were on my Kindle. It's called A Thistle in the Mist, written by Megan Denry. I gave this one a 4, but then I put in parentheses a high 3. The premise with this fictional story is it's historical fiction, and it takes place in the early 1800s. I think it starts like about 1807 or 1809, and it takes place in Scotland. And what kind of threw me at the beginning of this book is they're writing in a lot of Scottish dialect. So it took me a while figuring out what the words were. And once I got used to what those words were in that dialect, then I was able to get through it a lot quicker. It was an enjoyable story. It was about well-to-do families in Scotland living in a castle, and the main character was a daughter, and it became kind of a thriller as you read through it, and it was an enjoyable read. I would recommend it, but it's not something I would say that you need to rush right out and get. But if you like historical fiction, you would probably enjoy this book. Okay, I finished that. I started it on January 4th. I finished it on January 19th. So that tells you it's, it's a quick, fairly quick read, and it held my interest enough for me to want to keep reading it. Okay, then I got really behind on my magazines that I get, and one of them was Reader's Digest. So I decided that each month I'm going to try to read 1 or 2 of my magazines to get caught up. So this month it was the July-August issue of Reader's Digest from this past year, 2018. So then I started another fictional book on January 20th. And I finished it on January 30th. And this was called Chasing the Sun. The author is Natalia Sylvester. I gave this book a solid 4. It is, again, kind of a historical fiction. It takes place in Lima, Peru in the 1960s. And the premise behind this is that there is, I guess you would call it terrorism going on in South America, and they have been blowing up businesses and things like this. And they've also been kidnapping what they feel are high-profile business owners, either the wives, the adult children, the husbands. And in this particular case, a man, his wife is kidnapped. And it has a sideline of the fact that his childhood sweetheart had previously been kidnapped. And so it's kind of exciting, kind of thrilling in parts. I found it, the only thing that was off-putting about it for me is that I know nothing about South America, especially Lima, Peru. So the things that they were talking about were foreign to me. So I think if I had been reading a similar book and it had taken place in the United States or maybe in England or something, it would have been a little more familiar to me. But it was a fairly good book. I gave it the solid 4. It was kind of thrilling. I read it in 10 days, so it did hold my interest. And that was the last thing that I read. I have not started a new book yet. I have one out. This time I'm going to read a paperback that I had picked up at the thrift store. And so my goal was 1 fiction, 1 nonfiction. I more than met that. Well, not quite. I haven't finished the the nonfiction book, and the Magnolia story, which was nonfiction, I had actually started in December, so I got really close. I will finish that one up probably this week, so close enough. So that is my book review for the month of January. If you like this and you want me to continue doing the videos with the book review, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you'd like me to tell you more of about the books, or what you would like me to say less about the books, and then I will decide whether I'll continue doing this or not. So for right now, I will tell you all so long, and I will see you next month if I get a positive response. Bye-bye.